I shot over 1,000 landscape photos in the last 10 years and learned 3 invaluable lessons. I'll share them with you in this video. Hi, I'm Adam and welcome back. Before we get going today, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a domain name, a website, or an online store, make your next move with Squarespace. Now, I'm pretty sure you will have heard of Zeus, the god of thunder. We have a bit of experience with him on this channel, but you may not have come across one of his sons who was called Tantalus. In Greek mythology, Tantalus tried to trick the gods into eating one of his sons by serving him up in a meal, but the gods became aware of this, brought the boy back to life, and created a famous punishment for Tantalus, where he was made to stand in a pool of water under a fruit tree, where every time he bent down to take a drink, the water receded, and every time he reached up for a piece of fruit, the branches raised so it was just out of reach. It's where the word tantalize comes from, and it's very much what doing landscape photography sometimes feels like, where that banger of an image is just out of reach. The weather turns against us at the last second. Our compositional skills leave our brain for no apparent reason. Or we find ourselves in the perfect spot for sunset. The light is tantalizing, but just as our big moment is about to arrive, a bank of cloud rolls in and ruins our shot. Landscape photography can be hard. It can be very frustrating. So in order to improve and enjoy taking pictures year after year after year, it becomes vital to enjoy the process. You often hear people saying that all that matters is enjoying your day out or loving the process. Now, I don't agree with this. I think the result matters too. We expend a lot of energy trying to create these images, and I want something to show at the end of it. I felt like this when I first started out, and it's pretty much essential for a professional. In order to enjoy the process, though, we need to do things to remove the blockages that prevent us from doing photography or make it unnecessarily difficult whilst we're doing it. I've come up with a list of things I do that have helped me over the years to continually enjoy the process time and time again. Number 1 is get a camera and gear that works for you. There's nothing more disruptive to the creative process than when you are not in tune with your tools. I've used a lot of different cameras and lenses over the years, and it's really surprising how often, for no tangible reason, that a piece of kit has just not resonated with me, even when others may swear by it. I'm still using the Canon 5D Mark IV, and every time I go back to it, it's comforting. It's like an extension of my arm. I know exactly what to expect, and it still does everything I need. The same applies to bags, clothing, tripods, and filters. Just find the gear that works best for you. Number 2 applies to anyone, but it's a bit of a secret that doing this will improve your landscape photography more than anything else in the world. And that is to get fit. I've been very open about my struggles with fitness due to my back. But when you're fitter, getting up to those high points just becomes much more achievable. You get up there quicker, you can get out more often, and the fear evaporates because you know you're strong. It's also amazing how many good ideas jump into your mind when your heart is pumping fast, because that extra blood flow goes to your brain as well as your muscles. I've heard all the excuses too. The trick is, at the very least, to do a little bit more than you're doing now. Your photography will thank you. Number 3 on the list is to never stop learning. Do new things to keep your interest up and your curiosity high. For beginners, this might be shooting in manual mode for the first time. It might be trying a new technique like long exposure, or using a drone to light up the scene to make intriguing and unique images. It's worth learning about the artistic elements, and for more experienced photographers, printing your own photographs is a very natural progression. I've recently gone through a very steep learning curve as I've begun to make my own frames. I'm looking forward to making some videos about this soon. I just needed to stop raining first because my workshop is outside. For me, though, the absolute key to enjoying the process is to share it with other people. Photography can be a very solitary pursuit, which is often exactly what we need. But getting out there with friends, having a laugh, making pictures, And being creative together is one of the most joyful things in the world and a lot of fun. If you want to join Verity and I in the Peak District in August, shooting the heather in bloom, then hit the link down below. There's just 1 or 2 places left. Quite recently, I went through a bit of an existential crisis and very seriously considered quitting this YouTube channel. I'd stopped enjoying the process because I lost focus on what was important, instead becoming fixated on views, analytics, and watch time. I fixed this by simplifying things, reducing the excess, like my studio, and remembering that what I love is making videos for you. Then the other day, I saw another YouTuber complaining about the lack of views on his channel and displaying a certain amount of jealousy that people who are not proper photographers like him were getting more views. Now, I don't know what a proper photographer is, but it inspired me to drop a thread on Twitter that applies not just to videos on YouTube, but also sharing your photos online. Basically, if you're not happy with the views you are getting, every time you hear yourself complaining about the algorithm, all you need to do is change the word algorithm to audience. The algorithm hates this video. The algorithm hates my channel. The algorithm doesn't like me. It quickly forces you to look inward and stop blaming others. Think about this. Top Gear was never really about cars, and Clarkson's Farm is not really about farming. They are, in fact, the same story. Countryfile is about farming, and basically no one watches that. In the same way, landscape photography vlogs are not about photography. That'd be boring. The good ones are in fact a story about the person on the screen, about their experience, their adventure, and the transformation they go through in pursuit of their task, which in this case just happens to be making a photograph. And we all love photography, so we watch. Now, if you are happy with your photography and content with the attention it gets, then congratulations, you've won and I'm envious of you. But if you are someone who is cursed with ambition, then one of the best ways to improve your photography is to learn to become a storyteller. Now, I can almost hear some of you screaming at the screen saying, "What? How can you tell a story with a photograph?" Well, firstly, I absolutely believe that a single photograph can tell a story. This is easier to understand when there are people in it, but I think a landscape photo can do it too. Looking at this, we start in the foreground at the beginning, progress into the midground with all the texture and detail, and then we reach the big conclusion, the crescendo of the story with the sunset in the distance. We live in a world now where photographs are in abundance, and it's becoming, I think, increasingly important to create multimedia content to support your work because you are still a scarce asset. For me, nearly all of my images are accompanied by a video, but I recently came across a fantastic blog of longtime viewer Jim Scott. I've known for ages that he is a brilliant photographer, but discovering his written content has taken my appreciation of his work to the next level. There's a link down below for you to check that out, and I really think you should. The other way to tell a story with your photography is to create a series of images in the form of a project. It's going to be easier to complete if you do it about something you're utterly passionate about. But think about what you're trying to say. What is the story you're trying to tell? If you do this, the project will be much more successful than just a random collection of snaps. Don't stress about it though. Remember, enjoy the process. And often the story will present itself to you, especially if your heart is pumping whilst you're hiking up a hill. We'll discuss the big last lesson in just a second, but as you know, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Now, if you are a photographer, running your own website is the best possible way to share your story with the world. And with Squarespace, it's just so easy to get set up. And unlike social media, you control how your images are presented. You start by using one of their beautiful templates. Put some of your images and a little bit of your text on there, and before you know it, you will have a unique and beautiful looking website. You don't need any coding knowledge either, and it will dynamically adjust to look perfect on all types of screen. including a phone, which is very important in 2024. You can start with a simple gallery, but as you grow, you can then upgrade your site to an online store where you can easily start selling things like prints or books or anything else that takes your fancy. It also now has a members section if you want to run a subscription service, and in the unlikely event that you run into trouble, they have award-winning customer service. I've used Squarespace for years. I've been so happy with them. I've never looked back. So go to squarespace.com to start your free trial today. And then if you like what you've created, use the offer code FIRSTMAN to get 10% off your first purchase. The other day, I read a blog by Tim Watkins that shared another story from Greek mythology. This time, it was about the punishment of Sisyphus, where the gods forced him to roll a large boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down again when it neared the top, repeating this for eternity. Again, this is what doing landscape photography can sometimes feel like. Literally, in my case on this video, where I took the printer up the hill, but I think it's a more accurate description of life at the moment. We're all just trying to keep that boulder sort of rolling up the hill. There's so much in the world at the moment that we have absolutely no control over. And it's concerning the amount of nihilism and hopelessness this seems to create. We can't control the steepness of the hill we are on. What we can control to some extent, though, is the burden we have to roll up the hill. We can do this by making little changes in our lives that are going to improve it, such as drinking less alcohol, getting more exercise, spending time outside, being creative and producing things, spending time with positive people, sharing our experiences, doing interesting things, telling stories about those interesting things, and doing things that other people don't do. And I hope by now it's no secret that you can extract all of these things from doing landscape photography. Over the years, I've been contacted by so many people who were veterans or were suicidal or suffered from severe depression, who said the act of doing landscape photography had literally saved their life. There's almost no downside to it, and it's very good for our well-being. There's so much bullshit online too, and it's full of negative people who are desperate to drain you of your energy because they're jealous, or they make their money on outrage, or they get their kicks from winding you up. I offer you this counsel. If someone requires your fear, they do not deserve your time. If someone seeks to control you or restrict you, you can walk the other way. Or even better, head out with your camera. And when you finish a day of photography, stood on the hill, the warmth on your face, capturing a glorious sunset, the sense of meaning and fulfillment washes over you like a blissful wave. It's why I always get so excited sharing these moments with you. But it also provides a sense of perspective and gratefulness, and they are two things that keep hope alive. Quickly before we go, if you missed my book Illumination in hard copy, that is now available as a digital ebook at a much reduced rate. The link's down below. Or you can click this video here to find out more about printing, or this video here to join me on a landscape adventure. I'll see you again very soon.